All right, good morning, everyone. How are we feeling? No, man, that sounds very so-so and watered down. Let's start again. Good morning, everyone. How are we feeling? Okay, that sounds a lot better. My name is Brittany Clark. I'm not your host for today. I'll be introducing your host. But before we start, I ask everyone to stand for the playing of the national anthem. You may be seated. All right, so at this time, I'd like to unofficially welcome everyone to the J-TEC Tertiary Education Forum for today. And as you can see, we have a very packed and insightful program. I have the honor of introducing our Master of Ceremonies for today, Ms. Ruth Ann Carr, who serves as the Director of Corporate Communications in the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. Ruth Ann Carr, as mentioned, is the Director of Corporate Communication and Public Relations at the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. She has worked as a media practitioner / communication specialist for over 18 years. With a passion for public speaking and communication in general, she is a proud graduate of the Northern Caribbean University with a bachelor's degree in mass communication, where she emphasized in radio production. A certificate in television broadcasting from the University of the West Indies has also helped to equip her in successfully doing several live national and international broadcasts. She also has diplomas and certificates in personal finance and digital marketing. She has worked as a TV presenter, radio broadcaster, and a producer, and has served as a marketing officer and assistant director for the Corporate Communications, Marketing, and Public Relations Office at the Northern Caribbean University. She also worked as the communications manager for an international recruitment company. Following several years of service to the NCU Media Group as a producer, radio announcer and a videographer, she moved on to the Jamaica Information Service, JIS, the largest public relations company in Jamaica, which serves as a government agency to disseminate information to enhance public awareness on government programs and policies. She served there as a writer, presenter, and producer. Being a risk taker, Ruth Ann packed it all up and followed her dreams of traveling. As a result, she spent almost 2 years in Paris, teaching English as a second language while backpacking across Europe. She now speaks French at an intermediate level. Ruth Ann Carr is known to be a wanderer and lover of people with an overwhelming interest in understanding and serving others. Please join me in welcoming our incredible Master of Ceremonies for today, Ms. Ruth Ann Carr. I think she deserves a bigger round of applause than that, yes? Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Brittany Clark, for that wonderful introduction. She said good morning to everyone, and I know we sounded a little squally. Is it because we haven't eaten yet? It sounds like that. That will be fixed quite quickly, and when we continue this conversation, and by the time we get to the question and answers, I'm sure that you will be louder and more vibrant and willing to accept information and also share, because that is why we're all here. So let me officially welcome everyone. First, let me apologize for Dr. Casson Troop, our Permanent Secretary within the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. She will be joining us shortly. We say good morning as well to Dr. Damian Black, Executive Director and Commissioner J-TEC, Dr. Kevin Brown, President, University of Technology, Jamaica, Ms. Nickiesha Walsh, Executive Director, Student Loan Bureau, Mrs. Latoya Sams Blackwood, Information and Public Relations Officer, J-TEC, representatives from the various tertiary institutions across Jamaica, students, lecturers, administrators, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning again, and welcome to the culmination of activities for Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission J-TEC Week 2024, themed Building Pathways to Quality Education. As you would have heard, I'm Ruth Ann Carr, and I'm honored to be your moderator for today. Now, this week's events focused on fostering access to quality education while connecting students, institutions, and other key stakeholders within the Jamaican tertiary education landscape. But why are we here today? Today's Tertiary Education Forum, J-TEC Forum, creates an avenue for the sharing of ideas and new information, the promotion of quality education and J-TEC's efforts in this regard, and a collaborative approach to solving issues affecting educators, students, and administrators. As we continue with the program, and you know, Jamaica is a quite religious country, we don't do anything without welcoming God into our midst. So we'll pause to do that right now as I welcome Mrs. Latoya Sams Blackwood, who will do our opening prayer for today.
All protocol observed. Good morning, everyone. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for a beautiful day, because this is the day that you have made, and let us rejoice and be glad in it. We come to you as a body of educators, ready to be used by you in building pathways to quality education. We ask that you guide today's proceeding. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so very much for that, Mrs. Blackwood. And at this moment, a round of applause. I know that you are still hungry, but we can do that much as we welcome Dr. Damian Black, the Executive Director and Commissioner for J-TEC.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. Good morning, everyone. I want to acknowledge our special guests this morning, the institutions whom we will honor and acknowledge with respect to their registration. I also want to acknowledge and to welcome Dr. Kevin Brown, President of the University of Technology, Jamaica, Ms. Nickiesha Walsh, the Executive Director of the Students Loan Bureau. I want to acknowledge Professor Halden Morris, the Chair of the Vocational Training and Development Institute and member of our steering committee, colleagues, Dr. Donna Powell-Wilson, our Senior Assistant Attorney General, Ms. Anastasia Gordon. I want to especially state that because she has recently confirmed in that post. She's our legal advisor at the ministry, and she does an excellent job. I wanted to pause and ask you to put your hands together for her. All right, good, thank you. Lincoln, everybody who is here, just to salute you all and to say thank you. I want to, at this time, just note and join in affirming the expectation that our PS will be here. I know she's busy with some meetings and so on. I want to note and to acknowledge in her absence and transition, our former minister, the Honorable Favour Williams. I think that she certainly during her tenure added significantly to the journey that the education sector across all of its subsectors has been on, and certainly she has moved it forward. And we want to note certainly the implementation of the recommendations as agreed coming out of the Patterson Commission. I want also to note and acknowledge the incoming minister, or the present minister, beg your pardon, the Honorable Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, and the expansion of the ministry's portfolio to include skills and then also to welcome back information, all right? We note the many phases of the life of this ministry, but certainly together we are committed to ensuring that Jamaica's people are developed, amen? I was at a function just yesterday morning. It was the launch of the Spiro initiative, and the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, and I heard the persons there speaking about that ministry as the people's ministry. You know, so if they can say that, then what then about education, eh? So we do want to note that. And then, of course, Ms. Walsh is in finance and the public service, and she's dealing with people. So all of government is dealing with people. That's how it goes. But we do want to affirm these realities. I want to take the time just to quickly share some updates with respect to Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, where we are, the matters on our agenda, and then certainly to note we are, and we will continue to work on the significant agenda that has been assigned to us. We tend to use 3 words to encapsulate what we do. That's regulation, registration, and development. And by regulation, we tend to speak to the fact that we establish standards that speak to institutions and the qualifications that they award. By registration, we again speak to institutions and qualifications in terms of the establishment and utilization of these standards through our registration, inspection, compliance framework. And again, we note with respect to our register of tertiary institutions, the fact that we have in Jamaica approximately 145 tertiary level institutions, 145 of them. Now, this runs the gamut from our established universities through to our teachers' colleges, nursing colleges, our university colleges, general colleges, but then also including the broad landscape of entities wherein we find individuals brave and daring to get into the space as educational entrepreneurs and offering tuition, offering teaching and learning services with respect to the programs that they might have contracted to deliver. And so this is our target. This is who we have to deal with when we speak to registration, when we speak to regulation, and then certainly development in terms of the activities that we table for capacity building and support. Of these, we have concluded successfully the registration of 23. So that's roughly 14%. Now, we have, however, concluded about 35 iterations in that some of them have actually completed 2 cycles of the registration process. So the work is cut out for us, even as we deal with the formal sector and we deal with what we would call the tertiary level institutions, those whom are not necessarily offering awards in their own names, but are partnering and have partnered with others to so do. So our remit is significant, our remit and our scope of activities is broad. And in that regard, we have been working on a number of initiatives to ensure that we are ready and are able to do what it is that we have been called on to do, our assignment. First and foremost, legislation for our establishment. This has been on the table for a number of years. And you know, within the government circle, legislation can be a lengthy and time-consuming process. But there have been some significant developments of late, and we have gone to the point now where we want to see Cabinet's approval for the authorization of that legislation. In two other critical areas, we have been working through and advanced the review of two critical bits of international conventions. They are the UNESCO global and regional conventions with respect to the recognition of qualifications concerning higher education. The global, but also regional, and by regional we speak to the Latin America and Caribbean. These conventions will assist us with respect to something that we cannot avoid, the internationalization of our sector. Yes, we have been involved in this. UTECH is here, as noted, Monig, Caribbean Military Academy, others. But when it is that we speak to the internationalization, it is not just about the whole matter of consuming, but then also offering our educational products and services to others, inviting their citizens to be here so that they might be able to receive of the quality that we have. But then also, given the challenges, and I know Dr. Brown will speak in terms of the whole matter of quality and affordability, and he has been making some significant statements with respect to equity, but then also, broadly speaking, with respect to how the sector and the students are to be financed. And so we want to note that these two conventions, where ratified, will assist us in terms of ensuring that the institutions here are able to facilitate and to move forward. We know and we have established quality, but sometimes the stamp of approval that these conventions have and how they tend to assist and facilitate, we'll be able to better move forward. And then the other thing is the development of what we call a national qualification system policy. One of the things that you will note on the banner over there is expanding access, increasing equity. We have had a history in Jamaica where certain qualifications are esteemed higher than others. But what tends to happen when you have such a system is that many persons who have concluded other qualifications are not able to move forward. Or we have the situation where persons have traversed the formal education system, secondary level, etc. And when it is that they may drop out at a particular point in time, they have nothing to show for it, and they then have to restart. One of the things that this will do is to facilitate the recognition of credits earned, and so at whatever point in time or in the system that you exit, you might then be able to build from that point. And so initiatives through the National Qualifications Framework of Jamaica, as well as the Qualifications Registry of Jamaica, will significantly assist us in achieving that dream. When we hear of the individuals, the high percentage of persons, and I believe at the last Jamaica Survey of Living Conditions in 2021, the figure was about mid-50s in terms of the individuals in the prime working age population who are without certification of any sort. You know, when I first heard that figure, I mistakenly assumed that what we were talking about was the lack of, or persons not possessing tertiary post-secondary level qualifications. But it was in a meeting with my PIOJ colleagues that the truth hit home, that what we're talking about here are individuals who have nothing. Nothing. It is not to say that they haven't learned. It is not to say that they can't demonstrate some skills. But the extent to which the formal system locks them up because they don't have certification is telling. And so the extent to which we might be able to join with those in TVET, HART, NSDA, who have led in terms of the issue of prior learning assessment and recognition. And so we want the formal education sector, and we have executed some pilots, and at the implementation stage of certain programs, such as the training of PLAR advisors, and these individuals will be in institutions and to be able then to utilize what they have learned to be able to spread the message within entities. You know, this is, I want to share a story with you. Well, I could say a couple really, but one certainly. There was a gentleman. I was at an institution within the academic administration, and he wanted to pursue a master's degree. Master's in Business Administration. But his file was in a pile that the persons had rejected for admission. So I said, let me see them. When I opened the file, this was a gentleman who had left his high school, all right? You know in Jamaica, there was a time when you leave high school, you have 5, 6, 7 O-levels. You just go work and you're good. So that's what he did. And he went to one company, and he worked with that company until retirement. When he left the firm, he was a vice president. I had to say to them, what do you mean he's not qualified? And I therefore now had to push the system to understand what it means by prior learning, assessment, and recognition. Far too often our institutions, although they may espouse the words, we are defending quality, etc., but in fact it's a misunderstood approach. It is an approach to be rejected. It misunderstands what it is and who we are and how it is that learning occurs and the extent to which persons who may not have a particular or specific qualifications profile may be able to actually complete their programs appropriately. He ended up and concluded the program with a very high GPA. He could have come in and taught. If you get me and understand what I'm speaking about. And so it is that in Jamaica, we want to push the message of prior learning, assessment, and recognition, but through the formal institutions. We know that our colleagues in the TVET space are miles ahead of us, but we do want to encourage this because this is the only way in which we will be able to convert the data concerning the numbers of persons without qualifications and thus allow them to be able to access pathways through which they might achieve their goals. And so we want, therefore, to, on the basis of these programs and initiatives, speak to and to continue as the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, all of us together as stakeholders in this journey to really and truly do what is required to ensure the development of our people. So I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for making the time in your busy schedule. We look forward to what no doubt will be a very good morning and a time of celebration. Together, we certainly look forward to the transformation of tertiary education in support of national development. God bless you all.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Dr. Black. You did so great. I almost tumbled off the, the podium here. But yes, I absolutely love the work that is happening with the PLR because many times, as you would have mentioned, people do have the knowledge and we are understanding now what education truly is. So you might not have gone through a formal system initially, but you have worked and you have the background and the understanding. So we do laud J-TEC for the wonderful work that you have been doing. Feel free to give him a clap now. Come on. And at this moment, you've been hearing a lot of talk. It's good talk, it's great information, but we'll pause that for a while and we will have a special item by Mrs. Sams Blackwood. That will be followed by the introduction of the keynote address speaker, Dr. Kevin Brown, President of the University of Technology, Jamaica, and that will be done by Brittany Clark. She is the Communications Director at UCJ.
Make a way. You have always made a way, God. Oh God, oh God. Some days high, some days low, but I will not give up. No, I won't let go. I know God will make a way for me. Hey.
Wow, what a powerful performance there from Mrs. Latoya Sams Blackwood. Can we give her another round of applause, please? Yes, and a powerful message in the song as well. He will make a way. How many people believe there's a way? Where there's a will, there's a way. All right, amen. Thank you. So at this time, I have the honor and privilege of doing the introduction of our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Kevin Brown, President of the University of Technology, Jamaica. And yes, today I'm the honorary introducer, so I love that. All right, so Dr. Kevin Brown was appointed 5th President of the University of Technology, Jamaica for a period of 5 years with effect from September 11, 2023. Dr. Brown has been a trailblazer in academia and the aerospace industry for over 18 years. He's a technical expert in complex and integrated aerospace structural system design and a thought leader in transport systems, engineering materials, and numerical computational analysis. In his most recent role, he served as technology project lead for civil aerospace technology and future programs at Rolls-Royce, a leading global aerospace company and provider of jet engines for commercial and defense aircrafts with over 44,000 employees worldwide. He joined Rolls-Royce in 2013 and has held a number of technical and management roles with responsibility for strategic planning, financial management, and leadership of global teams across the Rolls-Royce aerospace business, including new product introduction, research and technology, future programs, and aftermarket services. In his previous role as a program manager, he led a series of multi-million-pound complex strategic change management projects that were focused on delivering corporate goals for cost reduction, improved safety, customer satisfaction, and increased financial return. He's an investor and holds a patent in America and Britain. He is also an entrepreneur and co-founder of a startup company in telecommunications. Yes, they gave me all the information, Dr. Brown, and I'm reading everything. His innovative and pioneering work includes the strategic development of lightweight composite material structures for future jet engines through collaboration with a series of technology partners and top UK universities, including Oxford and Bristol universities. He has had responsibility for a portfolio of high-value technology programs, and his work led to the recent introduction of a composite fan system on the new Rolls-Royce demonstrator engine, the Ultra Fan. He has authored and won multi-million-pound research grant proposals and has published 22 peer-reviewed journal articles and conference papers. Dr. Brown has also taught and supervised many undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctoral students, and completed several consultancy assignments for major British and international companies. He is a member of several professional institutions, including the Institute of Mechanical Engineers. Dr. Brown has an impressive record of community engagement and public service over the last 20 years, holding several leadership roles, establishing a range of initiatives, and working closely with politicians, government ministries, agencies and departments, as well as the private sector and NGOs. He's a radio broadcaster and has been the host of the Talkback Show on 97.5 Kemet FM over 12 years. He has also been a guest commentator on BBC Radio. Born and raised in Jamaica, Dr. Brown is an alumnus of UTECH Jamaica, where he completed a diploma with honors in mechanical engineering, majoring in production in 2000, and was president of the Students' Union. He received a scholarship from Ford Motor Company and earned a master's degree and PhD in mechanical engineering from the University of Nottingham. Dr. Brown is the recipient of several awards and achievements in scholarship, academia, and community service, with the most recent being a Rolls-Royce Recognition Award and the Sons of the Father Men's Movement Award for services in the Jamaica diaspora. He is a qualified England Cricket Board ECB cricket coach and an English Football Association EFA football coach, football coach. He's married with 2 children. And as president of the University of Technology Jamaica, Dr. Brown will carry out the functions of Chief Academic and Administrative Officer of the university, reporting directly to the council through the Chancellor. He will be principally responsible for implementing the council's policies and will exercise such executive powers as necessary for the proper administration and operation of the university. In accepting the appointment, Dr. Brown affirmed that, quote, "I am committed to working closely with the entire university community and key stakeholders to ensure that UTECH Jamaica becomes a beacon of excellence, empowering our graduates to make significant contributions to the nation and beyond," unquote. And so said, so done. He is a beacon of excellence himself, so please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Kevin Brown, President of UTECH Jamaica.
I can take the mic out? Okay. Take this out. Good morning, everyone. I wasn't expecting Brittany to go through all of that. So thank you, Brittany. My gosh. All right. Well, it's certainly a pleasure to be here today. Last year, I attended the J-TEC event. We were receiving our certificate. I don't know if we're getting one today again. All right, we're not getting a certificate today, but it's always a pleasure to be here with fellow members of the tertiary education community, because tertiary education matters, and we're going to talk about that in my presentation. I've been asked to speak on the topic of affordability versus quality, striking the balance in higher education. This is a very interesting topic, I must say, and I hope that it will stir some conversation at the end, because I'd really love to hear your thoughts as well. But let me just start by talking a bit about UTECH. First of all, are there any past students, any alumni in the house? Okay, so I see a few hands, including Dr. Black, who is waving vigorously. And I don't know if there are any current or former faculty staff here as well. Okay, I see a couple of hands. Okay. I'm sure you will return if you have left us. But UTECH is Jamaica's national STEM university. And if we look at UTECH in numbers, you will see that perhaps we need to talk a bit more about our national university and what has been accomplished in the last 66 years. We started in 1958 as the Jamaica Institute of Technology. So this is before independence, when the government at the time decided that Jamaica needed a technical and vocational workforce. So prior to 1958, the current location of UTECH on the Papine campus was actually a farm. It was an agriculture school. So we've come a long way. But straight after we were established in 1959, we became College of Arts, Science and Technology, CAST. And most of you are well aware of CAST. We were CAST for many, many years. And perhaps our most famous principal and first president is also well known to some of you, Dr. Alfred Sangster, who joined CAST in 1970 and stayed there until he retired. So he spent 26 years at CAST. He left just as CAST was in the process of transitioning to a fully chartered university. So as CAST, we were a polytechnic in quotes, and then by 1995, between 95 and 1999, we became a fully chartered university. And over the last 2 decades, we have been evolving. We've evolved so much that in 2018, we acquired institutional accreditation from the UCJ. And currently, and I'll go into some stats on our student numbers in a later slide, but we currently average around 12,000 students. And that's a significant jump compared to the past era. We have around 1,200 staff, about half of them are academics, and we have 60,000 alumni across the world. And I do mean across the world. I was one of them in the UK. And just to emphasize the point, over 80% of tertiary graduates leave this country. So I'm not talking about UTEC only. 80% across the board of degree holders, people with tertiary education, promptly leave Jamaica. So we are bleeding our graduates quite heavily. So quite a number of UTEC alumni are actually overseas. We're also a very entrepreneurial institution. For a very long time, we have had a strong emphasis on entrepreneurship, and we've supported over 300 startups. We currently have the Technology Innovation Center, and we've just partnered with the Amber Group to support another 100 startups in the next 1,000 days. So if you know anyone who has any business ideas, please point them in our direction. We have a good package for them to ensure that they succeed. We've also grown in terms of our academic units. We have 9 academic units on campus. 8 of them are faculties and colleges. We teach across all the disciplines. And recently we opened our 9th academic unit, the UTEC Open School of Lifelong Learning and Professional Development. When I attended UTEC, we were only at Papine. We now have 5 more locations, 2 more in Kingston. So our dental school is on Arthurwaite Drive. Our public health school is on Slipen Road. And we have a small outfit in Ocherius for UTEC Open. And in Montego Bay, we have 2 locations. Our nursing school, which is at Barnett Street, and then at Dome Street, we offer several other programs of study. And we're very STEM focused. Over 70% of our programs are STEM related programs, and we want to get to 100% STEM because for the future of UTEC is to focus on our mandate, which is to provide Jamaica's STEM workforce. So we want to infuse technology and science and maths and engineering in all our programs. So we graduate around 1,000 STEM graduates each year. So if you didn't know UTEC, let me introduce you to the university. And I say this because oftentimes, especially even since I've returned, I realize that there is an underappreciation of our university. And when I say our university, I mean it. Because the other big university is a regional university run by several countries. But this, was created by an act of law. We're a statutory body. So this is Jamaica's university. And I want you to appreciate what Jamaica's university has accomplished. Now I noticed that somehow the aspect ratio I gave you is not the same on the screen, but we'll work with it. All right. I'm a strong advocate for the power of tertiary education. And one of the things I noticed when I came back is that government officials, I won't name any, were emphasizing that we must support early childhood, we must support primary schools, we must support high schools, and then they stop. And I said to myself, well, I thought education was an ecosystem. So within that ecosystem is tertiary education. So for me, tertiary education matters. Because I keep asking these same government officials, what happens when you support early childhood, primary education, high schools, and then the high schooler now wants to move on to something higher. But you've not supported tertiary education. So don't leave anyone behind. Fund them all is my message to the government. Fund all of them, the entire educational ecosystem needs funding. It shouldn't be either or. Take from Peter, give to Paul. It should be everyone receiving adequate funding. And tertiary education matters. How many of you remember when your parents, proud as punch, telling everyone that my daughter, my son is off to university? It matters to families. It matters to you, the students who enter these institutions with a dream that getting this degree is going to change your life. And you heard my story. It started with a UTECH diploma. Everything you heard Brittany read about me started with UTECH. So it changes people's lives. I know of no other vehicle, better vehicle. There are others, but this is the one I know that provides for social mobility. I'm a poor country boy from a single parent home. Tertiary education propelled me forward. So it matters. It matters to our economy, because all this talk of prosperity and growth cannot happen without a highly educated workforce. So all of you here who are involved in tertiary education, you do very important work. And so that is my message to everyone. And I wouldn't say I'm a preacher, but it's certainly something that I'm proud to talk about every chance I get. But there are challenges. Affordability versus quality. Now, we had free education, and it ended in around 1986. Since then, the government of Jamaica has embarked on a shared cost model. Students pay something, the government puts something in the pot. But student tuition fees, of course, represent a significant financial burden. And a lot of institutions, my university included, were under pressure to keep tuition fees down. In fact, I exercised a marginal increase in tuition fees, and next day, the students' union were demonstrating on campus. And, so there's a lot of pressure to keep tuition fees down, right? And even though I argued with the students' union that my increase is below inflation, they were not having any of it, right? So they're quite keen to keep it down. So affordability is a major barrier. And it's a barrier because that's my lived experience. When I left high school and I was ready for UTECH, my mom said, well, I can't afford it. And I spent 2 years outside, after high school trying to figure out how am I going to attend UTECH. And then I said to my mom, you know what, I'm wasting time here. Let's take a student loan. I see, student loan is shaking her head. She's going to hear from student loan after me. So she will explain to you why student loan is important. But I took a student loan, and fortunately after that I got a scholarship. But at the same time, as we talk about affordability, how do we ensure that the quality of the education is still high, that we are able to have enough funding to invest in the infrastructure, to develop these institutions, to build out their research capability and their academic resources? So it's a big challenge for any government, and again, not sure what's happening with the aspect ratio on this big screen here, but we proceed. Underfunding has a very significant impact on education. And I can tell you all about that because underfunding is the story of UTECH before I came and continues to be a challenge. Underfunding causes a challenge in terms of resource constraints, right? So it limits the academic programs that you can develop. It limits your ability to grow and build out and upgrade your labs and your digital tools. It also causes low wages. And I know before I came back home, UTECH sadly developed a reputation for our staff to be restive and to be taking industrial action and all the rest of it. You may have noticed that since I've been there, we haven't had such occurrences. But the low wages and the lack of funding has created a very volatile work environment, something that I've spent a lot of time addressing since I've been there. The other challenge we have is limited research opportunities. And let me just explain something to all of you. There is only one university in Jamaica that is officially ranked. And they talk about it all the time. And I'm proud of them as well, which is the University of the West Indies. If you try to find UTEC under the same ranking body, you'll find us, but it will say not ranked. And the reason why we're not ranked is because research is about 40% of the criteria for you to even be, for you to be considered for ranking. And what we have been excelling at UTEC, and I'm very proud of this history, is that we're a very good teaching intensive university. We produce quality graduates, but it will not get us ranked. So if we don't pivot to research, we will not get global ranking. And we want to join UE, right? We celebrate with UE and we want to join them too. But with a lack of funding, it will not happen. But it also has an impact on society. Because we hear that we are having the best unemployment figures in the history of the country. But we know that there are skill gaps. We know that with the rapid change of technology, all of us, every tertiary institution in this room will have to keep upgrading your curriculum to keep up with society and societal needs. But if you don't have the funding, you will end up with skill gaps in the Jamaican workforce, in the Caribbean workforce, because the universities will not have the funding to build out new programs. You will continue to have a brain drain, because guess what happens? And this is probably the worst kept secret. The best and the brightest high schoolers in some of the top high schools in this country, immediately, once they've completed their CSEC and their CAPE and their SAT, they leave. And they don't have to be wealthy to leave, because if they get really good SAT scores, they'll get a scholarship. I remember going to a high school that I won't name, but they're one of the top ones. And the principal, when I sat in his office, he laughed at me and he said, you know, my students don't even have UTEC on their mind, you know. And I said, okay, I'm going to take this as a challenge to make UTEC be the university of choice. But right now, those very good students that are being produced by that high school are leaving. So brain drain, oftentimes we think about brain drain, we think of working people, professionals leaving. But it's also a loss of students who should be entering UE, UTEC, CMU, but choose to go overseas because they don't see UTEC as a well-funded, well-supported institution with the latest and greatest infrastructure. The other thing that we have as well is reduced social mobility, because if students are not entering institutions like UTEC, due to the underfunding that we suffer from sometimes, most of the times, then you have less people entering the university and reduce social mobility. Now, you have on there expanding access as one of your missions for J-TEC. We have it too. We want to expand access. I can't expand access, Dr. Black, without funding. So let me give you an example. Of all the students who apply for nursing at UTEC, we only take 1/10. I wanted to hear me very carefully. Of all the bright students, we only take 1/10. Not because of any other reason than a lack of funding to build out our infrastructure. So that's the capacity we can take. And without the funding, we cannot do anything else because we don't want to compromise the program. If we grow the nursing program, we have to employ more staff and build more classrooms and labs. But we know that the world, not just Jamaica, no, the world needs what? Nurses. So it's a missed opportunity because of underfunding. And just for completeness, from the start of the nursing school, it was underfunded because the current nursing school on campus is built from shipping containers. And shipping containers only have a lifespan of what? 10 years. And we have passed 10 years. So our nursing school is in a poor state in terms of infrastructure. So underfunding for me is real. And I'm sorry, our PS is not here, Dr. Black. But anyway, I proceed. She knows anyway. I complain to her every day. So how do we provide a high quality STEM education? How do we get through some of the challenges I've just laid out there? Because it is important to maintain high standards and high quality. And all the courses that we provide, whether face-to-face or online, have to be of a certain academic rigor. At the university, we have our own quality unit. It's called the Office of Quality Assurance, and they lead on ensuring that our academic programs are of a certain standard. Nationally, we also have the UCJ, the University Council of Jamaica, and you may remember we achieved institutional accreditation via the UCJ in 2018. Now, the UCJ has 10 criteria or standards. Right? Some of you have gone through UCJ, you're well familiar with these. I highlighted a few where funding is impactful. So they assess the quality of your staffing, right? 70% of my expenses are is staffing, right? So staffing takes up a lot of my money. But here again, UCJ is looking at my resources. Library. Let's stop at library. So UTEC made the very good decision of pivoting to online database for journals, books, and so on. Very good decision because that's where the world is going. Our students love it. They can pop into a library on their phone and access international journals. But I can tell you that every time I sign that bill, I cry. I pay millions of dollars, several millions, for that database. Right? So as slick as it sounds, it's very, very expensive. And in fact, we still don't have access to some of the best ones. And what the library has done, and I must congratulate them, they network with other libraries to share the costs, but it's still a big bill. And for some reason, UTEC pays the full bill and then hopes that everybody pays us back. But that's another conversation. Then UCJ is looking at computing, looking at our lab facilities, our financial status, and our physical infrastructure. So straight away you can see that for us to get through accreditation, there's a level of funding required to ensure that we are at a certain quality with respect to these UCJ standards. But a STEM education is expensive. A STEM education is expensive. We're not teaching the humanities. We're not an art school. We're a STEM university. We have lots of engineering labs with lots of big machines that draw lots of electricity. In fact, my electricity bill is $19 million per month. My water bill is around $14 million per month. Per month. A STEM education is expensive. My students are burning electricity all the time because they're running these big machines in the engineering school. Then in the science lab, we have these labs, and guess what these labs need? Apart from equipment, they need lots and lots of consumables. I have a big school of hospitality and tourism management, and guess what they need? Lots and lots of food, ingredients. Millions of dollars we spend on chicken and fish and all these wonderful things to train them for the tourism industry. So running UTEC as a STEM university is very expensive. Very expensive. And what has happened to us over the years, sharing some UTEC data with you now, is that in the CAST era, right, and I entered just when we were pivoting, in the CAST era, you'll notice that the student numbers were what? Around maxed out about what? 6,000 in 95, when Dr. Sangster left, about 6,000, and then what happened? Exponential growth. It's like everybody said, whoa, you take a university? I should go there. And so, and so exponential growth, whoosh, and we were up to around 11, 12,000. And we have maintained it for almost 2 decades. So we averaged 12,000 students since becoming a university. Talk about expanding access, right? It happened for us. But what has also jumped as well, if you read the words on my left, is the tuition fee has also moved. So when I was doing my engineering diploma at UTEC, I paid $30,000. I remember it like yesterday. And SLB had me running around for 2 guarantors and all of that for $30,000. So you know who couldn't be happier with the decision that SLB has done away with guarantors, right? Yours truly. It's the right decision, and the next decision that the government needs to take is to do away with guarantors for scholarships, right? And adjust this bonding policy that they have. But we jumped from 30,000 Jamaican dollars to $500,000 on average. Even a diploma at UTEC is around $500,000 per year. So, we've increased in numbers, but the cost to attend UTEC is expensive. And it varies. 500,000 is the average. The dental school students are facing almost twice that, right? So some programs are even more expensive. So when you talk about affordability, that's the first challenge. We have lots of students. We doubled our numbers at UTEC, but they now have to pay a lot more. And so I'm sure SLB will speak to this, but I pulled some numbers. I think it's from the right report. Yes, 2022, you will give them 2024 numbers. But in 2022, student loan, the estimated outstanding loan debt stood at 50 billion Jamaican dollars, right? Or 320 US dollars, right? So that was 2022, but you'll hear from SLB after me, they'll give you the latest number. So you can see that a lot of students, I was one of them, have used student loan to access tertiary education. But what happens to them? They leave with debt. So between $500,000 to $2 million worth of debt straight out of high school. And I don't think SLB operates like the UK. In the UK, they have a loan system, but their loan system is slightly configured to account for the type of job that you'll get. So they have a salary threshold. So if you leave university and get a job, but your salary is below a threshold, you do not pay back the loan. I'm trying to plant ideas in our don't know if it will stick, but I tried. So you have a similar threshold system? Oh, okay, all right. So it was just confirmed that Jamaica does not have a similar salary threshold system. So if you owe the student loan bureau money, please pay back your loan. You're not in England, right, where you can avoid that. So let's look at what's been happening with at UTEC. So what's missing from this graph, and maybe the audio guys will tell me, audiovisual guys will tell me why my graph hasn't fully occupied the screen. On the vertical axis should be the cost per student at UTEC, right? I have the UE data, but I decided not to put it on here. So you'll see what you can't see the numbers, but on average, based on what we get from the government. So let me just be very clear what you're looking at. This is showing you the subvention that we get for the government per capita, per student. So on average, a UTEC student gets about 200,000 Jamaican dollars from the government. Now, for those of you who really know the finances of the education system, you'll realize that $200,000 per student at UTEC is not far off what a high school student gets from the government of Jamaica. I'm not sure you caught what I'm just saying. A UTEC student funding from the government, so this is just purely subvention, this does not include tuition, this is just what the government puts in the coffers of UTEC. If you convert it to per student, it's on par or less than what the government gives to a high school student. Right? And only recently has ticked up a bit. But on average, you can see from 2007, they've consistently been giving us that amount of money. And then if I was to put my next door neighbor on here, my friends across the road, UWE, you'd observe another difference. That the gap between what a UTECH student gets and a UWE student is around $400,000. In other words, my friends across the road get a significant top-up relative to a UTECH student. So when you hear Dr. Black say that I'm asking politely for equity, it's true. I don't see why a UTECH student should be underfunded relative to a UWE student, right? Doesn't have to be the same, but I believe the gap is too wide, right? $400,000 gap is too wide. So we need to close that gap a bit more, right? So that's another challenge for UTECH. The per student funding needs to increase, needs to get closer to what is given to my friends at UWE. So, the trouble with government subvention. We are a public institution, we get funding from the government. But there are a few things you should know about it. One, it's not based on a formula. My finance team cannot sit down and say, okay, based on some known formula, work out how much we're likely to get. There's no such formula. It's all based on historical data. UWE has something close enough to a formula, which is the 80-20 commitment that all Caribbean governments had signed up to, but don't really stick to anymore. But because of the 80-20 funding, UWE has always gotten the lion's share of the government's tertiary education budget, right? We don't have an 80-20. So we don't know. And so if you look at, so just to give you an example, when Dr. Sangster was leaving in his final year at UTECH in 1995, CAS at the time got about $100 million from the government. UWE got about $1 billion, right? So the gap in funding has been historical. So we need a formula. We need a transparent formula for tertiary education. Now I must hasten to say that the government is trying to address this through the tertiary education policy. I hope some of you have been consulted on it, right? There is one. It's in a fulsome draft. So I hope you're all aware of this. And in that draft is a proposed funding model that gets you back to about 80-20, but with some nuances, right? So the funding model needs to be created and established, and we need better equity across the institutions. So UTECH is going through transformation, and this is not a transformation presentation, so I'll give you the whistle-stop tour of how we're going to transform UTECH over the next 5 to 10 years. There's a saying that what got you here won't get you there. So at UTECH, we are pressing the reset button on everything we do. So reset is not just a reflection and a reimagination of the institution, it's an acronym as well. Because I spoke to you about the importance of being research intensive, we have to become research driven. Not just because of ranking, but because that's how UTECH will solve society's problems. That's how UTECH is going to solve all the issues we have around becoming climate change resilient. Remember, UTECH is producing civil engineers, construction engineers, but we need to do the research now to make your buildings more resilient to stronger hurricanes. We need to do the research now to say, how do we design buildings in Jamaica to be passively cool? Passively cool meaning you don't need, how many in this room? Around 6, 7 ACs. But if you design the building a certain way, could you passively cool it without switching on the AC? All of that research needs to come from the university and much, much more. Right? So we have to be research driven so that we can also build Jamaica. We have to expand access, right? And for us, expanding access is not just about getting more students in with 5 CSEC and 3 CAPE. For us, it's getting the hard graduate into UTECH. For us, it's about using PLA to get the professional who has no qualifications into UTECH, right? Because we know once we get them in there, we can produce a quality graduate. We want to be student-centered. And I know some of you past students may know a thing or two about UTEC needing to improve on our student experience. We must become a center of excellence for the student experience. And here's the thing for all of us here as tertiary institutions, it's borderless competition. UTEC is not your competition. It's the American university that rocks up and just by being from America is able to take away your students. I have a program at UTEC that one American university completely wiped out. Came to Jamaica, pegged their tuition at UTEC's tuition, so it was neither more expensive or less expensive to go to UTEC, and wiped out the entire program. So I want you to understand that the competition is real. So we have to make sure that students want to come to UTEC and will stay there because the experience is so awesome. We have to become an entrepreneurial university. As you can see, the government doesn't really fund us very well. So we have to become more business-like in how we operate the institution. And finally, we need to be technology focused. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's one thing synonymous with most, if not everything there that we have as an ambition, is the need for funding. So let's walk through that. Underfunding means that the infrastructure at UTEC is decaying. So we now need to launch our campus master plan 7.0. 7.0 because it's the 7th iteration of us trying to upgrade our university since we started in 1958. So we've gone 6 rounds of campus upgrades. If you've not been to UTEC recently, please pass by. A lot has happened. But we need to do more, and so we have a master plan which needs to be funded. At the very least, UTEC will need at least $2 billion to get this off the ground, right? Boy, I wish PS was here, Dr. Black. She come in. But we're going to have to fund this through different. We'll scare her. We're going to scare her off. I hear some, no, man. PS she can handle it. She's made of stern stuff. So a bill of $2 billion won't scare her off at all. $2 billion, by the way, is the cost of paying electric bills for high schools in Jamaica per year. So just to put it in context. So we're going to need a number of people to come through for us. And by the way, I'm using UTEC as an example, but I'm sure it's probably the same for most of you. We're going to need a government to invest in the university, to see us as a national good. We're going to need, of course, student loan to keep doing what they're doing. We're going to need private and public partnerships. So, for example, we want to go solar, and for us, to go solar at UTEC will be a private-public partnership, right? The private sector pays for it, and we figure out some sort of shared revenue. So it's going to be a partnership. So you notice here, I'm not saying just the government of Jamaica has to fund UTEC. There are several pathways to fund our institution. They have already started to do some interesting things, such as the STEM scholarships, right? And this is funding of $2.4 billion over 5 years. And that started last year. The funding is through the Student Loan Bureau and the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. So, as you can see, that was Dr. Clark at the launch. So this is one of his initiatives before he left his post. But the one thing I'll hasten to say to my friends at the Student Loan Bureau, the tuition that you cover with the scholarships does not cover the full economic cost of the student. So this program has its caveats, and we need to renegotiate some aspects of it. I think I went back. Yeah. The private sector, as I spoke to you about, also provides scholarships. So we have about $300 million worth of scholarships and growing. We're always knocking on the door of the private sector to do more in terms of scholarships. And of course, they also create opportunities for internship for the students. We are also looking at international collaboration, right? And these are ideas, by the way, for all the institutions here. And I'm sure you're also practicing the same approaches. So we're working with institutions overseas, because one of the things with Jamaica is that we don't have a funding body for research. So if you wanted to research in Jamaica, there's no government body that's going to dispense funds to you, as would obtain in America or Britain or Europe. Those governments fund research. The Jamaican government doesn't have a structure officially to do that. So we have to partner with these international institutions. Just this week, I had the ambassador for the EU in my office trying to see if we could access their very huge research fund that they have in the EU. Other ways to get around the funding challenge is we are now looking at using technology. COVID forced UTEC online, so we do a lot of remote learning. But remember, colleagues, that remote learning is not the same as online learning, right? It's two different things. And so one of the deficits that UTEC has is we are behind relative to institutions like UE Global, which was formerly UE Open, which pioneered online degrees. UTEC is way behind with online degrees. And so I've given my team the charge to produce more online degrees. It will help in terms of cost effectiveness of providing such programs, and it should potentially be a profit center if done well. So we're looking at online programs and blended learning. And coming back to research, one of the things I'm trying to develop as an idea to pitch to our government is that they need to create a research council. And the best way to describe it, anybody familiar with TEF, Tourism Enhancement Fund? Right. So if you're familiar with TEF, you know that the only thing TEF does is receive and dispense money. You didn't know that? Yeah, man. TEF. If you're in the tourism business, knock on TEF's door. Their existence is only to receive and dispense money. So we need a TEF for universities. We need a TEF for research in particular. All the talent I have on campus who desperately want to do research have no access to funds. And I can tell you, having worked in research and development in the UK for almost 2 decades, the British government puts billions of pounds into research, right? So the government of Jamaica now has to commit itself to do the same. Put some money behind research, let all of us compete for it. UE, UTEC, CMU, and the rest. And what the government should do is dictate what you should research. They should come up with the grand challenge and say, okay, the government wants to solve these problems. Here's the funding. Talented university staff and students apply. That's how it works in other countries. Jamaica needs this desperately. So I hope you'll join me in my campaign. And I'm wrapping up now because the other outlet for funding is the alumni. UTEC has 60,000. I'm sure the institutions here have your own alumni bodies. We have seen this work very, very well for high schools. If you're an old boy or an old girl, apologies, I hope nobody feels offended by that. But that's the terminology, right? So, but let me stick with alumni before you start stoning me. If you're an alumni of a high school, you know that when they come knocking, when they come asking, you give. And for some schools, it's like a cult. You know, you are wedded to that school and you give when they call. We need the same approach for our universities. People have a misconception that universities don't need money. We need money. So if you, all the UTEC alumni who put your hand up, I'll be coming. I'm coming. Stay in your seats. I'm coming after I'm finished with my we're going to do a session, a tithe giving, right? Tithes, we're going to give some tithes today to UTEC. And I'm sure Dr. Black won't mind. He'll be the first one to go in his pocket as a proud alumni. So he'll lead the way, right? Yes, you can clap, man, because we need the funding. We need the funding. So we need to tap into our alumni. So just to wrap up, I think all of us agree that we must make tertiary education accessible because tertiary education matters. It is going to be the cornerstone of any ambition the government and our people have with respect to prosperity and economic growth. Can't get there without a highly educated workforce, right? And so for us, the government and many other stakeholders, alumni, private sector, NGOs, international bodies, embassies, and so on, will have to play a part in funding the future of our tertiary education landscape. Not just UTEC, but all of us, right? So I hope that has stirred some thoughts. I know I'll be followed by Ms. Walsh from the Student Loan Bureau, and then there'll be a Q&A, I'm told, afterwards. But thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you. So, do I welcome up? I'm going to do your job, Brittany. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Ms. Nickiesha Walsh. She is the Executive Director or Managing Director of the Student Loan Bureau and a proud past student of the University of Technology.
Dr. Damon Black, Executive Director and Commissioner of J-TEC, Dr. Kevin Brown, Keynote Speaker and President of the University of Technology, distinguished guests, educators, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, good afternoon. So my presentation, or just a few insights, is a little bit different because I am bringing it on the perspective of student cost and affordability in terms of higher education. So I know this topic today is very critical because it holds the key to shaping future of our societies, building pathways to quality education. This is not a matter of policy or funding, but of vision, commitment, and definitely collective responsibility. So at the Students' Loan Bureau, we understand that access to quality education is not just a right, it is a foundation upon which individuals and families and nations can build a prosperous future. Now, sharing the views of Dr. Brown, he brought it on the perspective on about funding for the university, and I guess underfunding will bring about the quality or their lack thereof in terms of education. But I know there are ongoing discussions in the public forum about bringing those costs to students to fund their own tuition. So for the SLB's version, I want to kind of look at the quality and the funding and how it impacts students and us at the SLB. In the words of Malcolm X, and I want to start with that, education is our passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to the people who prepared for today. So we can say that education is definitely the route or the avenue or the vehicle to ensure that our economy becomes prosperous. As key players in education sector, it is our collective responsibility to ensure that education remains both affordable and of high quality for those who seek it. However, and we know that education cost is rising, but as the landscape of higher education evolves, the line between affordability and quality can sometimes become blurred. Over time, we have seen a steady decline, and I know Dr. Brown would have shown you the slide where enrollment in tertiary institutions are declining and raising important questions about the value of education and the cost effectiveness of pursuing a higher education degree in today's world. The quality of education plays a pivotal role in the effectiveness and impact of the Students' Loan Bureau. The SLB's mission is to provide financial support to students pursuing higher education, but the success of these investments is directly linked to the quality of education students receive. Now, high quality education have a few key benefits. Better employment outcomes, and we can agree to that. Quality education often leads to improved employment prospects. It leads to higher job retention. It leads to greater opportunities and career advancement and promotion. And we are seeing it in the younger generation. Depends on the quality education that they receive. You can see the impact it is creating in our workforce. It also increased the probability of graduation rates because SLB has been facing challenges in that area. Quality education contributes to higher graduation rates, reducing the number of students who leave school without completing their studies. For the SLB, both of these outcomes, better employment and higher graduation rate, help to mitigate the risk of loan defaults. This in turn strengthens the Bureau's cash flow, yes, Dr. Brown, enabling us to provide loans for future students in need. So we have to bear in mind that the quality of the education that the students receive will in fact have a direct impact in those who come for tomorrow. Now, affordability of tuition is another central issue for the SLB, as we play a key role in making higher education accessible despite financial barriers. Now, the rising cost of tertiary education, coupled with the increase in demand for higher qualifications, present a challenge in balancing tuition affordability with SSB ability to provide adequate financial support. The growing cost of education, however, has direct implication on long-term loan repayments. So you know, the higher the cost, the more the students will have to repay. The SLB role is not simply to provide loans, but to ensure that the student repayment terms are manageable and aligned with the student's future earning potential. So there has to be a balance. It is essential that we consider factors such as the market conditions and employment opportunities. And with our no guarantor policy, yes, it is a great policy, but it also have implication and impact on our delinquency rate because there's nobody else to be accountable for the loan. So we have to balance both factors. If students are unable to secure jobs that allow them to comfortably repay their loans while managing other life responsibilities, then they will default. You can agree? So I'm just going to wrap it up because mine was supposed to be an insight, not an overall presentation. Quality education and affordable loan systems are deeply intertwined in the work of the SLB. When students receive a high-quality education, they are most likely to secure stable employment, higher wages, and repay their loans successfully. For the SLB, that means a more sustainable loan program is great. A more sustainable loan program, a greater positive impact on students' life, and a favorable long-term outcome for both individuals and us as a society. To achieve this, we must continue to explore ways, and I'm happy you mentioned the strategy that the English is using. We are also looking at that as well, but that requires a collaborative approach, and we'll invite members at the table when we start to look at that option. Students' Loan Bureau to date, and I'm just going to give a few statistics, have issued loans to approximately 570,000 Jamaicans, valuing at $60 billion. So we have touched lives and we mattered in 560 of those students. So we will continue our part in ensuring students have access to financing tertiary education. We have interest rates as low as 4%. Yes, we are not what people say. You can get a loan, or STEM persons who are pursuing the STEM programs, their interest rate is 6%. And when they maintain a GPA of 2.5 and above, they receive an additional 2%. So we are looking to ensure that we are balancing the critical needs of the government and of the country, and also affordability. We have also issued grants, and we issued grants to approximately $252 million on an annual basis. Now, the maximum amount a student can access is $1 million per academic year. So we talk about quality and we talk about affordability. We look to see if a student can access more than $1 million, what would be their repayment terms? So we have students paying as low as $5,600 per month, and we have students paying the highest $74,000 per month. So the more we increase in the tuition is the more the repayment will be at the end. Together, let us work cohesively, because it's not about the universe and the quality, but about the affordability, because what we don't want is looking at increase in cost, whether it's through the government funding, which is a good avenue, but government has to collect or have to earn before they can give. So we have to balance the conversation, because if tuition is rising as high based on the quality, then you have the enrollment becoming non-existent, because students want to have life outside of a student loan. Do you agree? So together we have to work cohesively to build better pathways to achieving quality education in Jamaica. I want to thank the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission for this execution of this annual Tertiary Education Forum. I think discussions like these will start to drive the conversation about what quality education means and also what affordability looks like. Because while we can understand that there's a growing demand for infrastructure, we still have to balance the conversation with affordability. So those are my insights, and I'm ready for your questions.
Thank you so very much. There's so much to take away from the two presentations we have. First, I have to say, Dr. Brown, a lot is happening at UWI, and I'm happy. UTECH, sorry. No, I should come down there for a flogging, but I shall not. But a lot is happening at UTECH. And I quickly want to point out that the Ministry of Education has been focusing on STEM and STEAM as well. And the Prime Minister has called Jamaica out to be STEM STEAM island. So that is very important, and 70% of the courses that you offer are STEM. That is wonderful, and we love to see it. So congratulations. Feel free to give them a round of applause. And as we also speak to SLB and the work that you are doing, we are so grateful, because many students, many of us in this room would not have had access to higher education were it not for SLB. So Dr. Brown sitting beside you, he is testament to that. So thank you so very much for the work that you have been doing. As you said, a collaborative approach is the answer to all of this. So that will come out in our question and answer or discussions, because today you're here to share your thoughts and ideas. We can't come up with all the solutions, and that's why we gather from time to time in forums like these, so that together we can solve the problems that we are having. So I'm very happy for that. But just before we have our question and answer, we are going to have a musical item by the Simpson Brothers. Make them feel welcome.
Good day, everyone. Good day indeed. We are here once again because of Jamaica's education and the desire to move forward. And so I applaud what you have done in the past and what is the intention in terms of what you're doing now and what you plan to do in the future. And with that being said, just to remind us that our national anthem is the only anthem in the world that's a prayer to God. Eternal Father, bless our land. And on that note, this rendition is a form of gratitude in humility for what God has done. as it relates to our education system and his desire towards Jamaica. So I just pray that this song bless your heart. And how can I say thanks for the things you have done for me? Things so undeserved, still you prove your love to me. The voices of a million angels cannot express my gratitude. All that I am and all I ever hope to be, I give it all to you. To God be the glory. To God be the glory. To God be the glory for the things He has done. And how can I say thanks for the things you have done for me? Things so undeserved, still you prove your love to me. The voices of a million angels cannot express my gratitude. All that I am and all I ever hope to be, I give it all to you. To God be the glory. To God be the glory. To God be the glory for the things He has done. With His blood He has saved me. With His power He has raised me. To God be the glory for the things He has done. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after me. 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 With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything.
Your goodness is running out, it's running out to me. With his love, he has saved me. With his poor, he has raised me. To God be the glory for the things, for the things, for the things, for the things, for the things he has done, he has done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. To God be the glory for wonderful things that he's done for everyone in this room. Round of applause for the Simpson brothers again. And at this moment, we'll be moving into the question and answer segment. So feel free to raise your hands. We'll come to you for the questions. Before we do that, though, Dr. Brown, I want to mention that within the Ministry of Education, you might have seen our banner there. We're trending, transforming education for national development. You would have mentioned that we focus on early childhood. We recognize areas where we can get better as well. So now we focus on tertiary education. That's pillar number 4. So over the next 7 years, because it's an 8-year initiative, you will learn more, and together we'll collaborate to ensure that our students at the tertiary level and our institutions get the support that they need. At this point, yes, feel free to give us a round of applause for that. At this point, we'll go around for some questions. I see one at the back. Do we have another roaming microphone? Oh, so I need to go back up to the front and take this one down? Let me just go for the question.
Morning, everyone. My name is Howard Isaacs. I'm the principal at Mooney College in St. Anne. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity, Dr. Black and your team, to invite us here this morning. And I also want to thank the 2 presenters, Dr. Brown and my colleague from the Student Loan Bureau, who I have been working with. I found Dr. Brown's presentation to be a presentation to promote, to highlight what UTECH is doing. And I want to commend you, sir, for having come on board. And since you're coming, you have been making some strides. And we are quite impressed. I stand to say to you, as you reset, it is critical for you to consider and to see the community colleges in the reset, because we are a critical part of the work in the tertiary system, and we have worked with UTECH over the years. In fact, right now, Monique shares a relationship with UTECH with one of our computer programs. So Mr. McCarthy and myself were talking, and we were saying that he's from Excelsior Community College, and both of us are trendsetters. We do things happening. He has already gotten institutional accreditation, and we are on the pathway of receiving same also. So I want you to put us in the mix, because what we are seeing is that we can help UTECH to expand its horizons, because we have the staff, because many of the staff were trained by your people. There are relationships there. And therefore, I'm just plugging that in, that as you reset, you think about the community colleges. Because we are there to serve, and we are in the community. And we respond to the needs of the community. And we are all across Jamaica. We have 10 different institutions, and we are in every parish. And we do quite a number of the programs, and we do accredited programs. So, just plug in that, not a question, a comment, but I want to commend you. And of course, we want to recognize the work that the Student Loan Bureau is doing and the changes that you're making. But in this, the thought, that one of the things that hit me when Dr. Brown presented was what happens in the UK. I know we can't get there yet, but it's something that we need to think about as it relates to further down the road. When my granddaughter reaches the stage, maybe she can get that. But it's something that we need to think about, So thank you very much, and those are my comments. But I would like to hear Dr. Brown's response
Sure.
to the community colleges.
Sure. Well, very quickly, yes, we have a long-standing relationship with the community colleges. There are programs that are delivered on our behalf through the community college, and we, in fact, I think we've just recently renewed some of those contracts. So we see the community college as important stakeholders for us, and we should definitely meet and expand on what you've just said, and to see how we can, as you said, include you in the reset. You're part of it, but now we perhaps need to formally engage you. And I know your colleague from Excelsior has taken Excelsior to some heights. I'm observing some very impressive heights. So, and also with a STEM focus. So, so I look forward to working with both of you and all the community colleges to see how we can take the university forward. Since I have the mic, I might as well use it and ask us to welcome Dr. Kassan Troop, our Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Education, Skills, and Information. Youth, oh, how could I forget the young people? Oh, yeah, Dr. Troop, you can introduce your CEO.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It is my joy to greet all of you and to be here and to take all the licks, because I heard that Dr. Brown alluded to the fact that I needed to be here for certain points to be made. But nonetheless, God would have it that I came after. But I'm here with our Chief Education Officer Acting, Mrs. Thomas Gale.
Okay, any more questions? I think.
Oh, good day, everybody. This is a wonderful day that God has created. We're all here to, well, let me say welcome to our Permanent Secretary and other protocols. I won't go through that. I just want to ask a question and make a point. So I'll just go to that. But colleagues, one of the outcomes of Dr. Brown's presentation is the need for financing. And another part of it is to move more into an entrepreneurship mode for the institutions to survive. I'm going to give you one example of where I think we have not really take charge of our own finances. And probably this goes into my own background as an electrical engineer. And about 2 decades ago, when JPS gave up the corridor, you know which corridor they gave up? Because they had it as a 100-year lease from the government. Anybody know which one that was? Nobody knows. Anyway, that corridor is the Bugwalk Gorge. And if some of us know, there was a power plant down there at one time. And that gorge is a very important corridor in terms of ecosystem and in terms of producing economic wealth for the country. So I suggested that to our universities, both UTEC and UWI, about 2 or 3 decades ago, that look, when JPS gave it up, they gave it back to the government. I think it was $1 or something like that. And I think the universities should aim at accessing that corridor as owned by the university. And I was thinking of UTEC at the time, because it's a technical university, to own the corridor, by lease, of course, from the government, to produce power for the tertiary system. Meaning that we would restore a generating plant in the gorge. It's free power like solar, but don't worry about it. You're in the gorge, you're producing power. It doesn't mean that you can't get it at UWI or Ministry of Education or UWI or anywhere else. All you do is throw it on the grid and claim it back somewhere else. So that was the idea, to take over the gorge and make it into an economic center for education. Now there's another element to this. The ecosystem of the gorge produces a lot in terms of water resources, water flows, irrigation, plant diversity, and all sorts of things that goes into this. So it will be a benefit for education from all angles in terms of curriculum designs, using the power system for the electrical engineer, using the mechanical systems for all the hydro systems and all those lifting mechanisms that you need for water movement and so on. And we have not done anything about that. I haven't heard anything. I mentioned it about 2-3 decades ago, and nobody said anything. And I think the gorge is going there laughing at us and say, system, you're not making use of me. And probably we need to look at that. So of course the question is, Mr. President, UTEC, technical institution, I don't think you're looking at just solar power, because that's a major cost. You quoted several billions per month. And I don't think we can continue to be spending that much on energy. I think we need to bring that down as close as possible, zero. And solar won't do it. Solar is a light electrical power system, which won't necessarily give you the kind of resources that you want. But a hydro system will take you, you'll be able to provide power, not just for you, but for UWI, for the Ministry of Education, and for several other institutions. Just claim it back on the other end from JPS. So that's just a point that I thought I would make, so that we can look at it as an income earning type of thing. Don't worry about the financing. There are organizations such as Greenpeace and others that the government need to access funding through, and you can get funding for these kind of mechanisms. So you go into Greenpeace and say you're going to give a green energy in this corridor. I'm saying very simplistically, but I know it's a little bit more complex. But you go into these organizations, develop these plans, look at ecosystem, look at all that you need to do to put this thing in place. And I think it's time we start to look at it from that perspective as contributing to the economic wealth of the country and yourself. And think about it like this, I think it's a private power company. They sit down there and they're producing power and they just throw it on the grid and they collect money and they survive. UTEC and the education system could do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So very quickly, well, first of all, let me reassure Dr. Troop that there were no licks for her to take, right? Because it's the same conversations we've been having, Dr. Troop. So nothing new for you. You know UTEC challenges. And I must say publicly that the Ministry of Education has been very supportive to the university, especially when I come knocking, right? So I want to appreciate your support, Dr. Troop, your continued support. So just on the point of electrical power, well, we're looking at solar. I really appreciate that idea. It's very innovative, and Dr. Troop asked a very interesting question: why did JPS give it up in the first place? So we would need to speak to JPS to understand why they've not pursued that as a power option. But for us, we're looking at solar in a very serious way. We need about 2 megawatts for our Papine campus, and we believe that with a public-private partnership, we can achieve it. But I will certainly look at hydropower as another option as well, now that you've mentioned it. So thank you.
Dr. Brown, my name is York Ali Walters, Partnership Officer for VTDI, and I really enjoyed your short but pithy talk. And as a graduate of your school, Caribbean School of Architecture, when you mentioned what we could possibly do with regards to solar and so forth, there's a quote that my friend here, where he works, his boss has said, some of us may know this quote: there is nothing wrong with Jamaica that cannot be with what is right with Jamaica. And there's nothing wrong with UTEC that cannot be fixed with what is right with UTEC. So the power engineering column of knowledge that is in the engineering program, if partnered with the architecture program and some of the civil engineers, you would be surprised what could happen. Lastly, I lived in Block F, way at the back. And I think it was a Dutch firm that designed that building, those buildings. And it was famous for the doors slamming shut because the breeze running through that building was so strong. We had no AC in that building, 0 AC. But this European company came and showed us how to use our climate to solve a massive problem. None of those buildings needed any air conditioning. So what you mentioned is something that I think we should look into as we move forward in trying to reduce not only our bill or $2 billion bill at UTEC or U or wherever, but every single school across the nation. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. Well, just to mention to you that because we're trying to manage costs and we know that we have the talent on campus, we've launched this new project called UTECH DIY, so UTECH Do It Yourself, where we're leaning on our faculty, our academics, and also our members of staff who have certain talents and skills to pitch in to support the university, especially with our infrastructure. So we are leaning on our Caribbean School of Architecture. By the way, UTECH has the only School of Architecture in the English-speaking Caribbean. And while I'm at it, we have the only public health school in the English-speaking Caribbean. So again, just anchoring the importance of the institution across CARICOM. And so we will be using our talent on campus. So definitely we'll be pursuing that. One quick thing though on passive cooling. So when we were students, UTECH didn't have ACs, or very few offices had ACs. Today, because of climate change, UTECH has close to 1,000 split units on campus. So when I told you earlier that my electric bill was $19 million per month, these little things that you see in this room, they burn a lot of electricity. We're trying to convert them to the inverter type, which takes less power, but as I said, the goal is to go solar. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm from Excelsior Community College. My name is Nadine Walker. I think this is up a bit too high, but as I heard you speak about the nursing programs, I wondered whether you had engaged the Nursing Council of Jamaica, because I know of the quota situation with the nursing programs, and I also felt as though you were speaking about the Excelsior Community College, right? So, So I wanted to know about the engagement of the Nursing Council of Jamaica, because as you seek to expand the nursing programs, there will be some bottlenecks in terms of quotas in the sector, as well as facilities for practicum.
Right, so just to give PS Troop some background. So Dr. Troop had mentioned in my talk that we only take 1/10 of the nursing applicants to the institution because of, well, the quota is one thing, but also our infrastructure limits our ability to expand. Have we been speaking to the Nursing Council? Well, we have members of the Nursing Council on staff, so yes, we have been speaking to them. My position is that if we can show the Nursing Council that the university has the appropriate infrastructure that does not compromise the teacher-student ratio and the quality, etc., then we should be able to convince them that we can accept more students. With respect to internships, I believe that we can place the students not just in Jamaican hospitals, but in hospitals across CARICOM and in the United States. So we are looking at a range of opportunities around expanding nursing, and we hope that we will be able to convince the Nursing Council. Jamaica needs nurses, the world needs nurses, so we really should be expanding all our programs, not just UTECH, but Excelsior and others. But the other thing I mentioned, Dr. Troop, is that we will need some funding and support.
Good afternoon. I'm Donna Powell-Wilson, Executive Director for the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica. And I recognize Council members McCarthy and Isaacs. I noted their comment to Professor Brown, Dr. Brown, and also his response, noting the work with UTECH and the community colleges where UTECH programs are offered in the colleges. But I would want for us, Dr. Brown, to extend that partnership. The council has responsibility for supervision of the community colleges in Jamaica. And we look at curriculum development, we standardize curriculum examination and assessment. And our students continue to face challenges articulating into programs at UTEC. You spoke about expanding access and with the HEARTS NVQJ, there is a framework, and Dr. Black at J-TEC is integral to the framework. I don't think the tertiary institutions are utilizing the framework. A student who have completed an associate degree in hospitality and tourism management at a community college, the program is accredited by UCJ in the community colleges. When they go to UTEC, I just received a document, they're asked to repeat courses. It should be noted, sir, and PS, that it is easier for our students to articulate into a program overseas than locally. And you spoke, Dr. Brown, about an American institution wiping out a program. So I think that's something we need to look at, and the CCCJ is willing, again, to speak to UCJ, not UCJ, UTEC, on how we can collaborate in that space.
Right, so I guess you summed it up there, Dr. Troop. So first of all, I completely agree with you. My staff will tell you that it's one of my complaints that we're not recognizing enough qualifications when the students apply to UTEC, meaning that they come, as you say, with an associate degree, and UTEC is asking them to pretty much start from the beginning. So we are going to go through a process of redesigning all the curriculums. It will take us 12 plus months to do, but all the curriculums will be looked at to allow for that articulation to happen, because I agree with you, it makes no sense that you come with your associate degree. And here's the thing, why UTEC must change. We have the sixth form pathway program. So it means that Jamaica is now producing way more students with associate degrees because they can do it in the high schools. So UTEC has to change, and we will, because it makes no sense we now look at that student who is coming through the sixth form pathway program or from a community college and refusing to waive modules which they would have done already. And by the way, UTEC will be part of the sixth form pathway, so that should help. But if they come through some other mechanism, we should also facilitate them as well. So that change is in progress. It will be resisted, but we have to change.
Do we have any more questions? Thank you so very much, Dr. Brown. So I believe that's it for our question and an answer segment. And at this moment, we will turn things over to Mrs. Sams Blackwood. She's the Information and Public Relations Officer for J-TEC. We'll move into our presentation of certificates to a number of institutions. Make her welcome.
Good afternoon once more. Okay, so we will be presenting the certificate to our institution that has completed their registration. But before that, we have Dr. Black. You're going to bring an overview of the registration process. So we're going to just welcome Dr. Black to do that section, and then we will call the institutions.
Okay, thank you. One moment. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank Dr. Brown, thank Ms. Walsh for their presentations. Certainly, they have indicated UTEC in terms of its status, its concerns, and certainly its program. I appreciate the reset strategy, Dr. Brown, and we certainly do hope, that it will be successful. And part of it, as you noted, is the need for the alumni, partnerships with corporate interests, and certainly looking to government, as you had indicated. But as Professor Morris did say, we do look to partnerships with other entities, Greenpeace, etc., that might be able to facilitate the continuing development. I want to certainly acknowledge the institutions here who will be receiving institutional certificates of registration, and we look forward to just being able to celebrate with them. I want, however, just to speak quickly to the registration process. One of the things that when the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission was established in 2012, it was established against the background of the vision enshrined in the report of the Education Reform Study that presented their report in 2004. The idea, the vision for J-TEC and the transformation of the governance and oversight of the tertiary education sector was based in the need to ensure appropriate regulation of the sector so that we are able to assure quality, to ensure that the entities offering their services to the Jamaican market, in the Jamaican marketplace, were able to do so and could be held accountable. The sector, as it is in terms of its governance mechanisms, includes, and you heard from Dr. Donna Powell-Wilson a short while ago, the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica. We have the University Council of Jamaica, and then certainly Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission. But then there are other elements such as the NCTVET, in terms of National Council of Technical Vocational Education and Training, focusing exclusively on programs in that area in terms of the standards. Now, the conversation and coming out of one of the questions or statement rather by Dr. Powell-Wilson is revealing the challenge with respect to being able to articulate from having completed a program at one institution to another. And that is something that bedevils tertiary education globally. It is a reality. Now, yes, we do know that there are many market-sensitive entities who certainly look at creating seamless articulation, and generally speaking, these would tend to be in the private sector, in the private institutions that dominate where this is concerned. The state entities tend to look to how they can conserve revenue, all right? And so the extent to which you are asked to do more credits means more income. And so they have their planning, etc. And this is a challenge. And believe you me, as I said, this is global. This is global, all right? Not just here. But it is telling in the fact that we still have the challenge here in Jamaica. And so the National Qualifications Framework and its standard-based approach to assessing and placing qualifications, the University Council of Jamaica, in its standards-based approach to reviewing and then accrediting and or recognizing qualifications, both approaches are designed to ensure that we overcome the biases and the prejudices that are inherent in the system. I recall, and it is sad to hear Dr. Powell-Wilson speaking here, but I recall that I went to an institution to inquire about registering there for a master's degree. I had a UCG accredited bachelor's degree. The dean with whom I spoke was not perturbed in telling me that in order to pursue the master's, I had to register from year one, day one, to pursue their bachelor's degree and then to be able to move on. I said, thank you, but no thanks. I'm not going that route at all. And so we still have traces of that thinking, the hierarchical approach, and we have got to address this. And so part and parcel of the transformation of the tertiary level system in terms of the recommendations made by the Patterson Commission and those being acted on by the Minister of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, will address these issues. You see, if you don't appreciate what is happening and if you don't seek to collaborate and acknowledge and identify, then you will be left behind and you will suffer. And so we do have to ensure that we understand that when someone comes with a degree that's accredited, the credits therein have got to be appropriately assessed in a process that is characterized by integrity, acknowledging that as people accumulate their credits and seek to move on, then it is that this is required. As I said, this is a global reality, and we do have to appreciate these outcomes. There was one institution that collapsed in the US, a private provider, and some tragic stories were told. Individuals with 1 semester's worth of credits, and when they went to transfer their credits, they just were not accepted. So individuals lost all of that investment. So as I said, it has its global face, but that doesn't mean to say that we have to accept it here in Jamaica. And so we acknowledge the issues, and it is why we are looking at the prior learning assessment and recognition. It is why we have developed a training program and certifying PLAR advisors so that within the institutions they can sensitize their colleagues as to how it is that we should be assessing learning and the credits put on the table so that we might facilitate advanced standing. It is absolutely important that we do so. We don't have the resources to waste. Ms. Walsh spoke in terms of the cost of studying. One of the studies that we did indicated that tuition basically is about 20 to 25% of the overall social costs of pursuing tertiary education. One of the things that we also saw in another study in terms of our annual survey of tertiary institutions, for every 100 individuals who might start in any given year, the trend is to take about 1.5 times the stated program length to complete the program. So if they're pursuing a program at UWI, instead of the 3 years, they're going to go to 4.5 years. Instead of the 4 years at UTECH, they're going to take about 6 years to complete, given cost. But if 100 students start in year 1, by the time they get to year 2, 29 have dropped out. Those 29 affected by the economic cost. By the time 1.5 times, so which is 5-6 years down the road when they are graduating, 59 of those 100 will complete. So the cost of completion is significant. And if it is that as we move forward, being able to see and appreciate the variety and how we can stress the diversity of institutions and offerings, then it is that we'll be able to achieve what it is that we want to achieve. For the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, in respect to our registering institutions, we do so against 11 standards which assess their institutions completely. And in that assessment, the inspection team documents in a report that we receive, and those reports define recommendations for further action. But the recommendation essentially, the report essentially speaks to the extent to which the institutions are compliant with the framework and the standards. And so when it is that we receive these reports, when it is that we make the decisions at the level of the Registration and Monitoring Committee and then our steering committee, our advisory board, what we have done is to apply internationally benchmark practices, internationally benchmark standards, and this is one way of assuring that what we have in Jamaica is credible. In doing so, we act on and we act with reference to the history, very important history of quality assurance exemplified by the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica, the University Council of Jamaica, and NC-TVET. We are all partners together in this process, ensuring that our students, all stakeholders, benefit from a system that has outcomes that can be tested and that can stand any challenge. In looking at our institutions, We classify according to a system that has 4 categories: universities, specialists and advanced, general higher education colleges, and general tertiary level institutions, brokers, and providers. And this afternoon, a number will be receiving their certificates, having gone through the process, and we certainly want to laud them. One of the things that we appreciate is the feedback from these institutions who commend us, commend what we have done, and the engagement with J-TEC with respect to their registration. We want to say thank you to you for having come on board. We do know that in the absence of legislation, we have to engage in a lot of moral suasion. We have to engage in a lot of negotiation. You know, there are some other government entities. I remember the Integrity Commission, but in its one of its earlier iterations, and with Greg Christie when he had just come on board, and it had to do with the matter of requiring the annual submission of declarations. And I remember him basically in one of his reports saying, but I don't understand this. The law says this must be done, so why isn't there 100% compliance? And the next year, there was 100% compliance in terms of the submission. Now, you know, Financial Services Commission, you have the Office of the Information Commissioner. These entities, they have their legislative basis that define how their stakeholders must interact with them. And one of the things here is that I don't say that therefore to say the heavy hand, but rather the engagement is very often frustrated by the lack of the legislative basis. But we're advanced in terms of being able to get there. Dr. Gordon, Jamaica Teaching Council, you know how many years, but you see you're in the final path now, right? Final stages of the journey. And P.S., you know, I commended and acknowledged Anastasia Gordon for her affirmation as our Senior Assistant Attorney General, and she has been there as a significant support in these matters. So looking forward to this, and looking forward certainly to be able to just affirm all of us and to celebrate together this afternoon. I want to, having said that, to invite our PS. You're going to come and share some remarks with us, please. We want to welcome you. We know that you're very busy, but we do appreciate your taking the time to be here and being accompanied by Terry Thomas Gale. But bless you. Please come and share with us. Let's welcome her as she comes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know what to say after Dr. Black said all of that. But as Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, I must express how proud I am of J-TEC. J-TEC is one of our emerging agencies coming out of the task force report set up to help us to structure our tertiary system in the most effective way possible, with the importance of understanding the purpose of the sector. Because many times, we operate in education, it's a massive architecture, but we don't make the connection. So we talk about the challenges in our small spaces and in the different levels, but at the end of the day, the job really is to make Jamaica a better place. The job really is for the education system to serve the country's development agenda. So we must make sure that our citizens are qualified, certified, and that tells you that the country is ready for social and economic development, which means that we become more attractive to international investors and development partners. Nobody wants to align with a loser. Nobody, no country, no business. And so we have a massive job to do when it comes on to making Jamaica competitive. Globally competitive. And that's really what J-TEC is about. Part of doing that is the quality assurance, getting the regulatory framework in place so our programs can stand to scrutiny. There's natural alignment and articulation, and it's portable right across the system, across the globe. And we have signed on to international treaties and agreements. We work with UNESCO, so we have agreed with some understanding that we must make sure that the system is cohesive and it is reflective of the national and global agenda. We have been doing that as a country, and J-TEC, I am So proud of you, Dr. Black, and your team, and I must commend you. You make my work easier. I can sleep trusting that you are advancing the agenda of the reform of the tertiary sector. Can we just show some appreciation for J-TEC? So he mentioned several things to celebrate. We're celebrating the National Qualification Framework of Jamaica, and that is important. Donna alluded to the fact that we have that framework and our institutions must tap into that because we have taken the step as a country to do the alignment and also to make sure that wherever our citizens are and wherever they left the system, there is a common point of re-evaluation or evaluation for that person to connect and to come back and to continue and not be punished. So you dropped out at grade 10 or you dropped out at first year and then you have to go back all over. That's a disincentive. That's what National Qualification Framework of Jamaica is trying to achieve. And we move to align the National School Leaving Certificate, we move to align the NCT VET, level 1, level 2, right up to level 8, because we recognize the importance of flexibility in pathways. There is no one way to become your best selves. And as a country, our job is to create those pathways. And that's what J-TEC has done in moving expeditiously to get that draft framework in place. And we're going to be making sure it has legislative support. J-TEC moved beyond that. There was a cry. We need to know where the scholarships are. We need to know what's happening in our country. And they moved to create that database. Now every Jamaican has one common space to go to find out where the scholarships are in this country. Isn't that awesome? So we can't say we don't know. So J-TEC, we have to get the message out. Because oftentimes I get many emails asking for help, and yes, we can direct them, but many times when they come, it's too late. So they miss the opportunities available to them based on timelines. So we have that database. And then J-TEC moved further. We're getting the tertiary information system, connecting and giving eyes to all our institutions in one space and providing service to them. Colleagues, we have much to celebrate. I've heard the conversation concerning the funding of tertiary education. And if you're familiar with the J-TEC report, you know the dilemma that we have. Do we take from tertiary to early childhood, or do we balance it? There's a demand on both sides. It's a massive investment at both levels that we have to contend with. But we know the cry of our tertiary sector. We heard the data of the dropout rates and the fact that we are not able to complete because of costs. It's a real situation for many. Those are some of the things we are contemplating. How can we make it easier? How can we make it more affordable? I know Student Loan spoke today about the removal of the guarantor and the risk involved in that. The government has assumed that risk for its citizens. Again, an enabler, because we have to get Jamaica looking more attractive. That's it. Last week I met with the Professor Denzel Williams from UWI, principal of UWI, and he said to me, P.S., I'm leaving the country because I'm going to build partnerships. I'm getting a pipeline of overseas registrants into my university as part of the viability. And I said, Professor, you are where I want you to be. Because the demands sometimes come on my side. What is the government doing? But I want innovative leadership. I want my leaders to see the gaps and say, how can we partner? Because that's what the tertiary space is to do. Solve problems, not to wait for the government to do everything. And he said to me, I'm going, I will come back and tell you about the exploit and see how Jamaica can create that pipeline where we export our talents in training. We have very good programs under rigorous regulatory framework. UCJ is here, CCCJ is here, all of us NCT VET, rigorous qualification program. And we can be proud of, because we got international recognition for those. But how can we maximize on that? How can we export that as an income generation activity for our tertiary institution? That's something we have not tapped into, and I've heard it. How can we partner as tertiary institution with the private sector? I have gone into other countries where the institutions are driving partnerships with businesses and their back-end services are in institutions.
So the STEM labs and all of those things that are led by organizations, businesses, they operate from institutions. They are businesses doing the back-end work. Another opportunity for partnership, something that we have to forward think about. That's how we're going to solve this problem. It's not going to be the government alone. We have got to get agile and innovative if we're going to grow Jamaica and make Jamaica the place of choice to live, raise families, do businesses, and raise children, families, and more importantly, to retire. I have to say that because we want to live here and stay here. And we want to be proud. So J-TEC, I am happy for this week of activities. You have really brought some attention to the tertiary sector. We have had robust discussions and insights into how we can make it better for our country. And I hope it will not end here. We should take the recommendations, we should deliberate, and we should make some changes. That's really the impact of the week. It's not a talk shop. I know it's awareness building, but what can we take forward? How can we make it better? Next year, when we come together in a fashion like this, we should be talking about the gains of this discourse. Right? We have heard recommendation about what's happened with JPS and giving up the plant, the power plant. And I suppose perhaps they gave it up because oil was cheap at the time. So it was easy to work with oil. But now we have a problem with oil, the cost of oil. And now we are back at square one. And we tend to do that in Jamaica. Nothing is really new. It's a cycle. So we start some things and we abandon it and we come back. And not just here, it happens globally. Yeah, I remember with the technical high schools, and we moved them into clinical programs. And now we are right there. We need to get back to making the technical high school function as technical high schools. Being that pipeline to our technical tertiary institutions, we are right there. Right back there. So we tend to make those mistakes, but I'm hoping that we will learn from them and we will advance the cause of education in Jamaica. So colleagues, my friends, my servants in tertiary, because that's what you do, you're serving your country through this sector. I salute you for all you do for this country. And I know sometimes it feels as if you're not making any strides. But believe me when I say that there are many in their small corner who are made better for the work we do. Student loan, over 500,000 Jamaicans have benefited from your enablement. And trust me, if you were to multiply the effect of that, I am a beneficiary. And I know my children are better off today, and my siblings and so forth. They are better off because of what I got from this government, invested in me, and I know can pay it forward. That's what we do. And so I'm grateful. It's working, but we want to expand and expedite the work of the tertiary sector. Colleagues, congratulations, J-TEC, for a powerful week, a wonderful week, and we continue to advance the cause of education. God bless you.
P.S. We're going to call you back shortly. The Ministry of Education, Skill, Youth, and Information, we are responsible for our nation's education and development, which comes with a huge portfolio. We have leaders to oversee, to ensure the ministry, the ministries, agency, and departments fulfill the mandate of the government of Jamaica. And when we see our leaders here to support in events such as this, to build pathway to quality education, we are grateful for their presence. Dr. Kesson Troop, our Permanent Secretary, and Mrs. Terry Thomas Gale, Chief Education Officer acting at the Ministry Education, Skill, Youth, and Information. We thank you for being here. So we are going to call the institution and award them with their certificate. They have gone through a rigorous process and they have come out successfully. And they are going to be our model institution to encourage the others to get registered. So we are going to give Dr. Troop a little break. We are going to ask Mrs. Terry Thomas Gale, our Chief Education Officer acting, just to award our first 3 institutions. Give her a clap. So we call on the Beauty Institute of Jamaica. Is there a representative? Okay. Next. Next we have the Stigma College of Nursing and Applied Sciences. Next in line, Edifocal Group. Okay, we don't have a representative. All right, thank you so much. We'll now call on Dr. Troop. Caribbean Military Academy. The Money College. We have Excelsior Community College. So before Dr. Troop go and sit down, we're going to ask Ms. Walsh to come here, please. We have a small token. This basket was sponsored by Grace, and we just want to say, Ms. Walsh, thank you so much for your support to J-TEC and its initiative. Thank you, Dr. Chu. So we now call on Dr. Black to present the last institution. So we just want to acknowledge Briar Pace Institute of Health and Medical Sciences. They are not here, but let us give them a round of applause. We now call on Pre-U Polytech. Okay, so we now call on our MC, Miss Carr. We also have a small token for you. Oh, yes, Miss Ruth Ann Carr. We thank you, Ms. Carr, for your support, and we continue to look forward in working with you. Thank you, Dr. Black. Yes. Ms. Carr, as you put your gift down, I'll just hand over to you.
Thank you so very much for my gift as well. I wasn't expecting that. But you know what? These incentives do go a long way. So I'm very happy and proud of all the institutions who were awarded with their certificates. And I'm very happy for myself. I see our CEO laughing. I'm very happy for myself with the gift that I have received. We're almost at the end of today's program, but before we go, we'll have our vote of thanks, and that will be done by Dr. Peter Gaywa, Institutional Monitoring Officer of J-TEC. Make her welcome, please. And you've eaten, so I know that you can applaud a little bit better. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and fellow participants, as we come to the close of this enlightening tertiary education forum, it is my distinct honor to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks on behalf of the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission. What an incredible journey we have embarked on today. First and foremost, I want to express our sincere gratitude to our Master of Ceremonies, Miss Ruth Ann Carr. Your ability to weave through the day's event with grace and finesse has set the perfect tone, making everything run seamlessly and keeping us all engaged. Thank you for your unwavering commitment. A special thanks to our keynote speaker who has left, Dr. Kevin Brown, President of the University of Technology Jamaica. Your insights have truly illuminated our path forward, reminding us of the vital importance of building robust educational frameworks that empower our youth. Your passion and dedication to the growth of our tertiary education system are not just inspiring, they fuel our collective ambition to elevate education in Jamaica. I would also like to acknowledge our honored guest and my permanent secretary, Dr. Kassan Troop. Your consistent presence and unwavering support not only fortify the critical role of the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information in fostering quality education, but also resonates with our efforts to push boundaries. Thank you for your relentless commitment in this cherished cause, which is fundamental to our collective progress. Let's not forget the uplifting performance from the Simpson brothers. Do you remember them? I do. Your delightful tunes provided a joyful interlude that brightened our spirits and reminded us that education can be an harmonious journey. Warm appreciation goes to my Executive Director and Commissioner, Dr. Damian Black. Your insightful overview of the registration process and exceptional leadership in our agenda forward are instrumental to our achievements. Your tireless efforts, sir, do not go unnoticed, and they truly echo throughout the success of today's forum. To Ms. Nickiesha Walsh, Executive Director of the Student Loan Bureau, thank you for sharing invaluable insights that help our students navigate the educational journeys.
Your dedication ensures that every aspiring learner, to include me, has the support they need to flourish. I would like to express gratitude to everyone involved in organizing this forum. A special thanks to Mrs. Latoya Sams Blackwood. Let us give her a round of applause, please. And her fantastic team, including Sydney Graham and Brittany Logan, from the Information and Public Relations Division. Your hard work and teamwork have made a significant impact, ensuring a seamless and enriching experience for all of us. Give them another round, please. Additionally, let us extend our heartfelt congratulations to the institutions that have officially received their certificate of registration today, demonstrating their commitment to quality in higher education. These institutions are Beauty Institute, Sigma College, EduFocal, Caribbean Military Academy, Monique College, Excelsior Community College, Bioprist Institute, and Pre-U Polytech. Your dedication to maintaining the high standards for students is truly commendable. Today's forum also culminates J-TEC's week of activities, which commenced on November 17th. It has been a week filled with inspiration, collaboration, and a shared vision for the future of higher education and, by extension, the entire education system. Finally, to each and every one of you gathered here today, thank you for your enthusiastic participation and engagement. Your commitment breathes life into our decisions surrounding our theme, building partnerships to quality education. This theme resonates powerfully with the current landscape of higher education in Jamaica, as we strive collectively to strengthen the educational framework that has support our learners and institutions. I want you to know that J-TEC stands fully dedicated to fostering initiatives and standards that promote quality education. Your active involvement is critical to advancing this mission. As we leave this forum, let's carry the insights and connections forged here into our collaborative efforts, continuing to uplift and enhance Jamaica's tertiary education landscape. Together, we can. We are a vibrant group of people, and we are also quality educators in the education system. Let us ensure that there is access and that it is transformative for all. Thank you once again for being a part of this significant gathering. Your energy and passion make all the difference. And I am so excited to see what we can achieve together moving forward. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you so very much, and we've come to the end of today's event. But before we go, I feel like I keep saying that, but before we go, there are so many amazing things to say and people to recognize that sometimes we can go on forever. But give me a moment so that we can quickly recognize the work of the Registration Monitoring Committee for the wonderful and integral role that they play in decision making as it relates to the registration of institutions to ensure compliance and also to ensure that the standards of the tertiary institutions are upheld. So we'll ask at this moment members who are present to please stand and be recognized. Thank you for the work that you do. I also want to say thank you so very much to Dr. Black. I know we did the vote of thanks, but I have to pause here, and I know that you and your team at J-TEC have been doing a wonderful job. We thank you for the week of activities. The theme for today, building pathways to quality education, speaks to the core of our overall mission at the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. So it aligns perfectly with J-TEC's work to advance the quality, accessibility, and relevance of education in Jamaica. And of course, it also builds on our long-standing motto. Everybody in here should know this one. Every child can learn. No, you've eaten. I expect better. Every child can learn. Every child must learn. And it's our job to ensure that that happens. And so on that note, let me say thank you so very much for the work that you have been doing. Let us continue, all of us in here, regardless of the committee you're a part of, the unit, the division, the work that you do is important. So let us continue to build pathways that empower our students, strengthen our institutions, and ultimately contribute to the sustainable development of Jamaica. Thank you. Have a good day.